Welcome to TNN NFL Sunday Kickoff.
Hello and welcome back to yet another installment of TNN NFL Sunday Kickoff. I'm your host Jasyn Smith, and we've got yet another fairly exciting week of football to cover as we continue our final push into the 2020 NFL playoffs. So we at TNN are here to make some sense out of all this shaking and baking in this week's rat race. Starting with the NFC, the Falcons are the only team in the conference this week to officially declare football bankruptcy and file for a lost season. However, the remaining teams, they are just getting started, so everyone else, try and keep up. The Packers packed up and put away the NFC North this week, clinching the division with the win over the divisional rival Lions, and are now the new number 1 seed, marching the Saints right down into the 2nd seed after their tragic loss to the Eagles. However, they can still clinch the NFC South this week with the win against Patrick the Snowman and the Chiefs, or a Tampa Bay loss. The Rams remain atop the NFC West in the 3 seed with their blowout victory over the Patriots, giving them the opportunity to clinch a playoff berth with a win next week against the Jets. And I know, there's no such thing as a gimme in the NFL, but I mean, come on, it's the Jets. Also, the Washington football team made a name for themselves, taking home the number 4 seed for at least this week with their win over the 49ers. Stomping the Giants out of the playoff picture and into the hunt. This division is still anyone's to take, especially with Washington's quarterback situation being shaky at the moment. The Seahawks and Buccaneers remain planted with their 5 and 6 seeds respectively. The Bucs took home the win in an ugly game against the Vikings and are still very much alive in the South due to the Saints' loss. As for Seattle, with a soaring win over Washington this week, the Seahawks can clinch a playoff berth of their very own. However, not far behind them are the Cardinals, who swooped in on the 7th seed with their first win since the famous Hail Murray game after taking out the Giants, kicking out the Vikings from the final playoff spot and sending them back to Iceland where they truly belong. So in the hunt for the NFC this week, we have a fearsome foursome with the Vikings, Bears, Giants, and Eagles. The winner of our Week 15 matchup between the Vikings and Bears will pretty much decide which of those teams get the boot, whereas the remaining teams are simply battling for the top spot of the NFC least. Now on to the AFC playoff picture, which doesn't really have all that much going on this week, other than Kansas City finally tracking down that number 1 seed with their win over the Dolphins, scrapping the Steelers and tossing them down into the 2nd seed where they belong after their loss to the 3rd-seeded Bills. Speaking of which, the Bills, Titans, and Browns all stayed planted at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th seeds respectively, at least for now, as the Browns dropped a very important key matchup against the Ravens. As this time it was Lamar Jackson who poo-pooed not only metaphorically, but allegedly quite literally all over the Browns at home, in what has to be one of the best games this year. And with the Ravens and Raiders both in the hunt as of now, these 3 teams' remaining 3 games will be extremely vital in the final seeding of this conference. Now let's not forget about our 6th and 7th seeders, as the Colts galloped into the number 6 seed with their win over the Raiders, and the Dolphins, well, they flipped back into the 7th due to their loss against the Chiefs. Whew, that was a lot, man. This weekend,
holy shit!
Week 14 brought us a litany of big defensive plays, however 2 in particular stood out to us here at TNN. 2 epic one-handed interceptions in the end zone that resulted in touchbacks for each team. The first was Miami Dolphins cornerback Xavier Howard against elite Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill. Howard made Hill look every bit of the tiny man that he is at a mere 5'10", as Howard jumped an ever so slightly underthrown ball and palmed it out of his reach like a bully in the schoolyard. The second spectacular interception was hauled in by Indianapolis Colts cornerback Kenny Moore over Raiders tight end big man Darren the Brick Waller. On the contrary to our last pick, in this one it was the Munchkin making the big man look little, as Moore undercut Waller's route, sprung into the air with impeccable timing, and snatched the ball right out of the heavens above, leaving both Waller and Derek Carr absolutely speechless. And all I have to say is, holy shit! What do you folks at home have to say about these plays? Who did it better, Howard or Moore? Let us know down in the comments below. And the best comment, well, they get a cookie.
And now for CMF of the week.
Well, in the beginning minutes of the fourth quarter during Cleveland and Baltimore's scrap in the dog pound, Lamar Jackson was forced to leave the field due to cramps, which some people are having a hard time believing, thinking there's an extra letter on that injury report. However, Trace McSorley was forced helplessly out onto the field, only to get mauled by the Browns defense and left the game with an injury of his own, leaving a 4th down and 2 minutes left out on the field. But don't you hold your breaths too long, Ravens fans, because your Superman is somehow jogging back onto the field just as his backup went down. Jackson Crapson took the 4th down in 2 minutes and shoved it right up the Browns' backfield with a beautiful scrambling touchdown pass to put them up by 7. But wait, there's more. After putting the game on his back through the ground for the entire first half, Big Truss went 4 for 4 in the fourth quarter, executing a beautiful final drive to put the game away, quickly getting into field goal range and setting up the game winner, ultimately saving the Ravens season in just 2 minutes, making Lamar Jackson this week's classiest motherfucker of the week, even if he really did just have to take a shit.
And now for This Week in Fantasy!
Whoa! Timmy! Oh, I'm glad you're here. I've been doing a lot of digging into this fantastical realm we've been trapped in, and I think I've come up with a solution on how to finally get us out of here. You see, Timmy, your dear great Uncle Frank likes to talk a big game, but I've come to realize I'm actually the laughingstock of the fantasy football world. See, I've been doing a lot of tapping into the waiver wire, and I've heard a lot of slander towards my name, Timmy. These motherfuckers banished us, Timmy! I don't know how they did it, but they're so scared of an underdog and his scrub pup that they cast us out to die in this forsaken limbo of fantasy losers. But not for long, Timmy, for I am in the playoffs now. The only way to get out of here is to go all the way, risk it for the biscuit, then dab and dip our way out with the championship. So with that being said, you just make sure you start Josh Allen over Deshaun Watson this week, Timmy. This may be a theme of mine, but Watson is going up against the top fantasy defense in the Colts, and I just don't trust anybody with that kind of matchup. Besides having done his job against a stout Bears defense last week and going up against a Broncos defense that has given up more than 18 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks, Josh Allen seems like a much better option. Now scram, Timmy! I've still got a lot of work to do before we bust our way out of this joint. Oh.
And that was This Week in Fantasy!
Well, from all of us here at TNN NFL Sunday Kickoff, we hope you enjoy your Week 15 slate of games. And if you've got any questions, comments, concerns, or maybe even your very own pick for the CMF of Week 15, please leave us a comment down below, as our one and only commenter is getting quite lonely down there.
Thank you for watching TNN NFL Sunday Kickoff!